Before your eyes fully open, before your feet touch the ground, a silent decision is already being made inside your body, whether your blood will flow freely today or move under quiet strain. This is the moment most people ignore, yet it is the moment biology pays the most attention to. After hours of rest, hydration becomes the first act of cooperation with your circulatory system. Water gently reduces blood thickness, supports plasma volume, and allows red cells to glide rather than crowd. It is not medicine, but it is physics and physiology working together. Morning hydration is one of the most underestimated biological reset mechanisms the human body possesses. During sleep, the body continues to lose water through breathing, perspiration, and metabolic processes, even though no fluids are being consumed. As a result, blood plasma volume slightly decreases by morning, making blood more concentrated and slower to move through narrow vessels. This does not mean danger, but it does mean inefficiency. When blood thickens even marginally, red blood cells encounter more resistance, platelets come into closer contact, and circulation must work harder to deliver oxygen and nutrients. A simple intake of water gently reverses this state, restoring fluid balance and allowing blood to regain its natural fluidity. From a scientific perspective, hydration supports optimal viscosity, which directly influences shear stress along vessel walls, a key factor in maintaining healthy endothelial function. When blood flows smoothly, the inner lining of blood vessels releases signals that promote relaxation, reduce inflammation, and discourage unnecessary clot formation. This is not about dissolving clots aggressively, but about creating conditions where the body's own regulatory systems can function without friction. Hydration also supports kidney filtration, which plays a quiet yet essential role in regulating blood composition, electrolyte balance, and waste removal. As the kidneys filter more efficiently, the chemical environment of the blood becomes more stable, reducing internal stress signals that can otherwise encourage clotting pathways. On a deeper level, hydration represents cooperation with the body rather than intervention against it. Water does not force change, it allows systems to return to their intended state. The heart benefits as well, as properly hydrated blood requires less pressure to circulate, reducing morning spikes in vascular resistance that often occur upon waking. Even the brain responds, as improved cerebral blood flow enhances clarity, calm, and autonomic balance, indirectly supporting cardiovascular regulation. This quiet ritual, performed before stimulation, before urgency, before the mind accelerates, sends a message of safety to the nervous system. In that safety, blood chemistry stabilizes, vessels soften, and circulation resumes its natural rhythm, not hurried, not strained, but responsive and alive. When the body awakens after hours of stillness, circulation is functional but subdued, moving carefully through a system that has been largely motionless. Blood, by nature, is designed to flow in response to movement, and when muscles remain inactive for long periods, venous return slows and gravity subtly encourages pooling in the lower limbs. Gentle morning movement reintroduces rhythm into this system, not through force or exertion, but through cooperation. Each stretch, each slow step, each deliberate breath activates skeletal muscles that compress veins and guide blood back toward the heart. This muscular assistance reduces stagnation, one of the primary conditions under which clotting becomes more likely. Scientifically, movement supports the balance between coagulation and fibrinolysis, the continuous internal process through which the body forms clots when needed and dissolves them when they are no longer useful. Light activity enhances blood flow velocity just enough to prevent platelets from lingering and adhering unnecessarily to vessel walls. It also increases shear stress along the endothelium, stimulating the release of nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, reduces inflammation, and discourages excessive clotting behavior. Beyond the vessels, movement gently awakens the lymphatic system, helping clear metabolic byproducts that can otherwise contribute to low-grade inflammation and vascular irritation. From a physiological standpoint, this is efficiency rather than intensity, a reminder that circulation responds better to consistency than to extremes. There is also a neurological dimension to morning movement. Slow, mindful activity reduces sympathetic nervous system dominance, preventing the sudden stress-driven vascular constriction that often accompanies rushed mornings. As breathing deepens and posture opens, oxygen delivery improves, heart rate variability increases, and blood pressure stabilizes rather than spikes. On a more reflective level, movement restores communication between intention and biology. The body senses readiness, not threat, and adjusts its internal chemistry accordingly. This is why even a brief walk or a few minutes of stretching can have disproportionate benefits compared to its simplicity. It signals to the circulatory system that flow is expected, that pathways must remain open, that stillness has passed. In this state, blood moves with purpose rather than resistance, guided by motion that is calm, coordinated, and quietly protective. Morning light is not merely a visual experience, it is a biological signal that informs the body how to organize itself for the day ahead. When natural light enters the eyes in the early hours, specialized retinal cells communicate directly with the brain's central clock, setting off a cascade of timing signals that reach far beyond sleep and wakefulness. These signals influence hormone release, nervous system balance, and the behavior of blood vessels throughout the body. From a circulatory perspective, this timing matters. Blood pressure, vascular tone, and inflammatory activity all follow daily rhythms, and morning light helps align these rhythms so they rise and fall with precision rather than confusion. When this alignment is intact, endothelial cells lining the blood vessels respond with greater flexibility, adjusting vessel diameter smoothly to meet the demands of movement and metabolism. Scientifically, this improves blood flow efficiency and reduces unnecessary vascular tension that can contribute to clot-promoting conditions. Morning light also influences cortisol release, not as a stress hormone in this context, but as a mobilizing signal that supports circulation, glucose regulation, and vascular responsiveness. In balanced amounts, cortisol helps blood vessels maintain tone without rigidity, allowing circulation to be assertive yet adaptable. Light exposure further affects melatonin suppression, which indirectly supports platelet balance and blood pressure regulation during waking hours. Beyond chemistry, there is an immune dimension to this process. Circadian alignment helps regulate inflammatory signaling within blood vessels, reducing the background irritation that can encourage clot formation over time. From a systems perspective, light acts as a coordinator, ensuring that the heart, vessels, blood cells, and nervous system are working from the same internal schedule. When this coordination is lost, circulation becomes reactive rather than responsive. On a more reflective level, stepping into morning light reconnects the body to external time, dissolving the artificial boundary between internal biology and the natural world. This connection stabilizes not only mood and alertness, but also the subtle vascular decisions happening moment by moment within the bloodstream. The body recognizes daylight as permission to open, to circulate, to engage rather than constrict. In that recognition, blood vessels soften, flow becomes more intelligent, and the circulatory system begins its work not in urgency, but in quiet readiness. What enters the body first in the morning carries influence far beyond immediate energy needs, shaping the internal chemistry of the blood for hours to follow. After an overnight fast, metabolic pathways are particularly responsive, and the bloodstream becomes a primary point of contact between nourishment and physiology. Foods rich in natural antioxidants, fiber, and plant-derived compounds interact subtly with blood components, influencing how platelets behave and how blood vessels respond to daily demands. From a scientific standpoint, many plant nutrients help moderate oxidative stress, a process that can damage the delicate lining of blood vessels and encourage inflammatory signals that favor excessive clotting. By calming this oxidative environment, these nutrients support endothelial integrity, allowing vessels to remain smooth, responsive, and less prone to internal friction. Fiber plays an additional role by slowing glucose absorption, preventing sharp spikes in blood sugar that can temporarily increase blood viscosity and platelet reactivity. Stable glucose levels help maintain consistent blood flow dynamics, reducing stress on vascular walls. Certain natural compounds also influence lipid metabolism, supporting healthier blood fat profiles that contribute to long-term vascular clarity. This is not an immediate cleansing or dissolution process, but a form of daily biochemical guidance that nudges the blood toward balance rather than extremes. On a deeper level, the first meal sets a tone of communication between the digestive system and circulation. Signals from the gut influence inflammatory markers, hormone release, and autonomic nervous system activity, all of which affect blood flow and clot regulation. When nutrition is gentle and supportive, these signals remain calm and coherent. From a reflective perspective, choosing such nourishment in the morning is an act of alignment rather than control. It recognizes that blood health is not maintained through forceful intervention, but through repeated moments of cooperation. The body responds not with resistance, but with adaptation. Over time, these choices reduce background vascular stress and support the blood's innate ability to regulate itself. In this state, circulation moves without urgency, platelets remain attentive but restrained, and the bloodstream reflects a system that has been given the conditions it needs to function intelligently rather than defensively. Mental calm in the early hours shapes the bloodstream more directly than most people realize, because the nervous system and circulation are in constant dialogue. When the mind wakes into urgency, stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol surge rapidly, tightening blood vessels and increasing platelet sensitivity as part of an ancient survival response. This reaction is not harmful in emergencies, but when it becomes the default way to start the day, it subtly shifts blood chemistry toward tension and reactivity. A few minutes of intentional calm interrupts this pattern before it becomes dominant. Slow breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, guiding the nervous system away from sympathetic overdrive and toward parasympathetic balance. As this shift occurs, heart rate steadies, blood pressure eases, and vessels regain flexibility rather than remaining constricted. From a physiological standpoint, this reduces unnecessary shear stress and discourages clot-promoting signals that arise in states of chronic stress. Calm breathing also improves oxygen exchange, which influences how red blood cells release oxygen to tissues and how efficiently blood moves through capillary networks. On a biochemical level, reduced stress lowers inflammatory markers that can irritate vessel walls and alter normal clot regulation. The blood responds not to thought itself, but to the hormonal environment thought creates. When the mind settles, that environment becomes less defensive and more cooperative. There is also a timing effect at play. The morning hours set the tone for autonomic patterns that often persist throughout the day. Beginning in calm teaches the circulatory system that there is no immediate threat, allowing regulatory mechanisms to operate with nuance rather than force. From a reflective perspective, this practice represents restraint rather than passivity. It is the deliberate choice to allow systems to awaken gradually instead of being shocked into motion. Compassion enters here, not as an emotion, but as a physiological signal of safety. The body senses this safety and responds by softening internal resistance. Blood flows with less turbulence, vessels communicate more clearly with the heart, and clotting factors remain poised rather than primed. In this quiet space, the mind is not controlling the body, but listening to it, and the blood responds by moving in a way that is efficient, adaptive, and quietly protective.